It's a scam that's become so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore.
Just generally the way that governments can manipulate figures in order to create a narrative. I'll give you an example. In 2011, I used to work across job centres in London. This was when there was the Lib Dem Conservative coalition in, and it was the middle of the recession. I'd like to add that I wasn't an advisor. I worked for a charity that was separate from the job centre, but I used to go into different job centres to support young people with things like housing and training courses. Because of this, I was often invited into the JCP advisor meetings, and I was in the meeting where they told advisors that they were going to put a target on sanctioning young people's benefits. For those of you who have never signed on, sanctioning is basically when they stop your benefits. This might be because you missed an appointment, or because you didn't provide enough evidence that you were job searching, or because you turned down a job offer. So you might wonder why that's significant. Well, if you make it a performance metric for an advisor to have to sanction people, they're going to look out for more reasons to sanction someone because they have a target to meet. When I was signing on at the job centre 18 months prior to this story, I was threatened with a sanction because I turned down a job that had a 2-hour commute either way. I didn't have a car, so I'd had to use public transport, and a lot of the shifts were at night, so I would have found it really difficult to make it. I was fortunate enough in my situation that rational minds prevailed and compassion won through. However, once targets were introduced, it was much more likely that misdemeanors would be really harshly punished. So the reason for introducing that sanctioning target at the time was because of the way that the unemployment figures were measured. What would happen is if you were claiming benefits, you would count towards the unemployment figures, but if you weren't, you didn't. I'd like to add that's not how they measure them now. So at the time, the more people sanctioned, the less people on benefits, the less people on benefits, the less people counting towards the unemployment statistics. This specifically targeted 18 to 24-year-olds, who are some of the most vulnerable groups in our society. It did mean that the government could claim that the unemployment rate had dropped since they'd got into power. Even though it hadn't really, it just made people invisible and unsupported. It's a reminder that if you don't know how a statistic is measured, you don't know what it represents. Follow me if you're interested in creating a kinder, more inclusive, digitally enabled future.